Thank you all for being here. Let me ask you a couple quick questions just to get a feel for the room. Who here wants to fight against the growth of government? Okay. So far, so good. I have a good crowd. Who here wants to hold corrupt politicians accountable in a meaningful way? Even better. Who here wants to be a part of a movement that is fighting for freedom around the world? Good. Now, what if I told you that you could do all of that without leaving your neighborhood? You didn't have to clap for that, but that's fine. Yes, absolutely. Make it as easy as possible. Listen, we focus a lot at the federal level and on national and international politics. We talk about inflation, we talk about war, we talk about CDBCs and all of these things. And these are important things to talk about. But the problem is when we only focus on those things, it can feel very disempowering and hopeless because it looks like we're fighting against a giant monolith that we have no hope to fight against. But the reality is, if we want to fight big government, we don't have to leave our backyard. There is a corrupt, big and growing government right in your neighborhood. It's called your local city council or your county council or your borough or township or whatever you live in. The fact that you're clapping means that you already know this. You already know how bad and how corrupt it is, but because we often focus at the federal level, they get away with it. They get to do this and no one even shows up to the meetings. No one even knows that this is happening. Now, the reality is, they are as corrupt as the day is long. In fact, my talk is called Picking Fights for Liberty, but I want to be very clear. It's the government picking the fights. We're just fighting back until we win. Yes. But it's not just that. It's also the fact that if you even look at federal and state policy that we don't like, that's mostly enforced by local police and local officials as well. When you see those people wearing ATF and FBI jackets and doing these raids, somewhere around 90% of those people are deputized local police. So even that is stemmed from the local government. So fighting local is not only effective, it's not only empowering because it's something that we have an ability to fight now by organizing our communities around it now, but it's just as important on the things that we care about at the higher levels as well. Now, here are the most common objections that I hear to why we shouldn't be focusing on local. The biggest one is one that I hear about any kind of activism. I've never done this before. I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do. Why are you shoving me in front of people and telling me to talk to them? So that's the first one. The second one is, this isn't going to get enough attention. No one cares about my local city council. They probably couldn't even point to it on a map. And the third one is, this isn't enough. We have so many big issues going on right now. There's no way that doing this is going to have any moving of the needle towards liberty. There's no way that it's going to change anything. Well, I can show you that all three of those objections are false. And I'm going to give one example. There is a city called Gastonia, North Carolina. Anyone heard of that? Just outside of Charlotte. And Gastonia has some incredible people, and they also have a very, very corrupt city council. We've actually had to go toe-to-toe with them a few times. The most recent thing they've been doing is trying to steal a church for the crime of feeding homeless people. I'm going to say that again. They are trying to use fines and punishment to seize church property from a pastor and his congregation because they are solving the homelessness crisis in Gastonia by, and hear me out, feeding them, providing them with their immediate needs and giving them counseling and help to get back on their feet so they aren't homeless anymore. Now, I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but it turns out that it's working. They haven't had homeless people on the streets. They haven't had people dying of overdoses. They haven't had a lot of the things that other towns and cities across America are having because they're dealing with it voluntarily. The problem is the city council doesn't want that. They want a homelessness crisis and they want people to be dying because that's how they get their sweet federal money to deal with it. And so they moved very quickly. They actually 2 years ago shut it down initially, and we saw homeless people dying very quickly and very immediately after that. My organization, You Are the Power, found out about it. We showed up to the city council, we fought them on it, and they backed off for about a year or so, and things got better. And now they've decided not just to try to shut it down, but to steal it. And we did what we do at You Are the Power. We got that community organized to show up to local city council meetings and fight back against it. Now, at the most recent city council meeting just a couple of weeks ago, we showed up and we were the largest group. Each time we show up, there are more people there than before. and we showed up about 150 or so strong. Now, for anyone who's ever been to a city council meeting, that's a lot of people to show up to a relatively small city council meeting, and boy, did those local officials not like it at all. In fact, they didn't like it so much. They didn't like that over 100 of their community members, including pastors, including soccer moms, people that aren't even politically active, and including dozens of those residents, people that would be living on the streets if it were up to that city council, showing up to say, why are you doing this to us? Why aren't you respecting us as human beings and just letting us help people? Why are you trying to make us homeless and deal with overdose and suicide and make the public hate us? Why would you do that to us? They disliked that so much that they only gave us 2 minutes each to speak. Thankfully, that's all I needed.
My name is Spike Cohen, and I don't recall the First Amendment having a 2-minute limit. But anyway, I'm going to cut to the chase. I was at Faith, Hope, and Love on Saturday, and I watched them do what they do every single day, feeding people in need, keeping to, as your coding people called it, keeping the matters of the faith, the main commission that Christians have, which is to feed those in need and to help those in need. And for a moment, I had the same question that a lot of folks here probably have. Why are you punishing a man and his congregation for solving the homelessness crisis and helping those in need? But here's the thing, folks. I figured it out. You need a homelessness crisis. You want a homelessness crisis. You want these folks out on the streets and in the woods. You want them doing whatever they need to get by, and you want the public to become angry and fearful and resentful so you can sell them the solution. And if instead you let this man of God and his congregation fix the problem themselves, they're going to start wondering what they need you for. Now, at the base of what you're doing is a complete lack of respect for them as human beings, their lives, their livelihoods, their well-being, their safety, all of it. You do not respect them as people, you see them as objects. They are an opportunity for you to grandstand on your suffering, and the congregation is an obstacle to that opportunity. They are not things, they are people. You have two choices, and this should not be a difficult choice. One, you can just let this church help those in need and get out of the way, or two, you can create the suffering you're creating, and I will personally make sure that everyone in this city, this county, this state, and this country knows who you are, what you've done, and the suffering you're causing. Your choice.
Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Spike, that is an incredible speech. You are an incredible and powerful orator, and you're just really handsome as well. That's great that you would think that. I'm not sure why that would matter, but thank you anyway. Thank you all the same. But Spike, did that even do anything? Well, let me tell you what it did. A lot of people saw that, and I'll get more on that later, but a lot of people saw that, and when we put up that video, we also put the names and the phone numbers and email addresses of the mayor and all the city council members. We cyberbullied the government, and, or I should say, we gently pressured the government to do the right thing. Thank you. But in doing so, hundreds and thousands of people contacted them and said they too didn't think that was a good idea what they were doing. And lo and behold, they've decided to pause their action for now and see if there's a way to work with Faith, Hope, and Love to allow them to help people. Funny how that works when we hold them accountable, right? Yeah. Now, let's go back to those objections. I will never, ever stop you from clapping for me. I will literally stop talking if you clap. Thank you. So, with that said, let's go back to those objections. I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. How would I even do this? Well, most of the people that talked, that gave speeches, they hadn't done this before either. Some of them were homeless people living in a church who had never spoken publicly before about it. And their testimony, what they had to say, was far more impactful than anything I could say. They didn't know what they were doing, but they showed up and it was something they cared about. You'd be amazed what you can do when it's something that matters to you. No one expects you to be some incredible orator. They just want to see that you care and that you're showing up. Number two, no one's going to care. This isn't in their community. No one's going to care. 2 million people so far have seen that video and counting. And again, hundreds and thousands got activated to do something about it, to make a phone call, to send emails, to share that. It mattered to them. And then the last one, of course, is this isn't going to do anything. This isn't enough. It was enough for the residents of Faith, Hope, and Love who still have a roof over their head. It was enough to get us dozens of interviews and articles and media hits across the globe. It was enough for thousands of people to get involved and hundreds of them to sign up for my organization, You Are the Power, to do this in their community. It was enough to get me invited to go to Australia to speak with liberty activists about how they can do this in their community. It was enough to get them to sign up and start working on creating an Australian chapter of You Are the Power. It was enough to activate thousands of people to fight for freedom from one activism in one small town. You would be amazed what you can do when you focus at the local level. So, how do you do it? How do you get started? Well, if you sign up for You Are the Power at youarethepower.net, you can fast track through a lot of this. We do this a lot. We're going to do it again, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. We can give you tools and training and the best practices and support to be able to do this the most effective way possible. If you want to do it yourself, maybe you're not the signing up type. Maybe you don't like the cut of my jib. Maybe you just want to do it yourself. That's fine. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips of how you can do it if you want to do it on your own. Number one, show up. Start going to some of your local government meetings, city council, county council, zoning board, school board, whatever. Show up to meetings and just observe what's happening. And I'm going to warn you, you're not going to like what you hear very quickly. It's going to be kind of boring at first, and then you're going to realize in a very boring way that they are doing some terrible things in your backyard, but now you're aware of it. Now, number two, while you're there, you're going to meet other people who aren't just observing, they're showing up to beg that local government to leave them alone and stop trying to destroy their life, their business, their family, whatever it is the government's putting them through. And you've just found a cause. You've found someone that you can help. So once you find that cause, number three, organize people in your local community to organize around that cause and show up and give their peace of mind to that local government about what they're doing. Number four, part of that involves speaking directly to them. Now, cyberbullying the government is great, but in real life bullying them is way better. Now, if you haven't spoken before, that's fine. Just, keep it short and concise. If you have to write it down, if you don't have any public speaking experience, just write it down. Read it out. That's fine. That's what a lot of the folks did at the Gastonia one. Just read it out. Make sure it's, a couple minutes, 3 minutes. Don't go too far. And make sure that you have your points out there. All right? I forget which number I'm at. What was that, number 4? Number 5, keep doing it until you win. And I'm going to tell you, you will win. If you keep consistently showing up and consistently talking about this and consistently getting attention about it, you're going to win. Again, I would love to have you join us at You Are the Power. This is what we do. This is why we were founded. We recognize that we are going to fight for freedom from the ground up. We're not going to start at the White House. We're not going to start in Congress. We're going to start in our backyards, and we're going to build up from there. And when we build up from there, we are creating a movement that is already becoming global. Yes. You Are the Power recognizes exactly that. You have the power to take back your community and to fight for freedom and inspire others to join you. That is what we do every day. We are just getting started, and we would love to have you join us. And you can do so by going to youarethepower.net. But again, whether you sign up or not, I exhort you to understand you have so much more power than they want you to know. And when you show up, and you show people in your community that you care, you understand, you have solutions, and you have something that they can work on with you, you'll be amazed at who comes out of the woodwork to work with you. So I will leave you with this. Every single movement to set people free started with 1, 2, a handful of people. And they kept fighting because they knew that the alternative to fighting until they won was to just shrug their shoulders and say that this is how it's going to be. And that was unacceptable to them. That's unacceptable to you. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. I'd love to have you be a part of our movement. We are going to fight for freedom, and freedom is going to win. Thank you so much. Thank you.